Hey folks, Quilly18 here, and welcome to a Baldur's Gate 3 Honor Mode walkthrough for Act 1. I feel the most challenging part of Baldur's Gate 3 is Act 1. In later acts, you'll have optimized your party through multiclassing as well as building devastating item combos. But at the start of the game, you won't yet have the tools to break the combat balance in the same way. This guide aims to provide you with a safe path through Act 1 on Honor Mode, where permadeath lurks around every corner. Prologue, Nautiloid. There's not much to say about the Nautiloid other than just get through it. It is possible to get the Everburn Blade in Honor Mode, but inconsistent without the ability to save scum. I don't bother personally. Maybe you can try a command drop and see if you get lucky, but otherwise I'm just going to assume you just burn through the Nautiloid as quickly as possible and get dropped into Act 1 proper. The first thing to do is to collect our companions. Obviously, grab Shadowheart, she's right next to where you start off with, and then you're going to have to deal with the Intellect Devourer fight, so be careful in that one. They can be surprisingly tough, and with the low amount of hit points you're going to have, things can go badly very quickly. After you've defeated the Intellect Devourers, you're going to want to head west and collect Asterion, then northeast and collect Gale from the Waypoint Sigil, or do Dark Urge things. Take a short walk north, collect Lae'zel, either peacefully or through combat, and then before you go any further, head directly west and you can find a shovel in a dirt mound. You're going to want those for digging up stuff, and it's the fastest one to find. Of the 4 companions available at this point, I feel that Lae'zel and Asterion are the strongest picks to carry you to level 3, likely with Shadowheart to provide Bless, if nothing else, and sorry Gale, but obviously this is going to depend on who your main character is. Our next major goal is to get to level 3, where most characters get a significant power bump, and to also find Withers so that we can fix up our party members. Although, I think Withers may automatically show up in your camp once you get to level 3, regardless of whether or not you find him, but I've never actually tried that myself. Surviving level 2 with ease. Head to the Emerald Grove Gate for the Goblin fight. Position your character on the central high ground with a melee in front. When the fight triggers, you should be directly adjacent to an archer. You might lose 1 or 2 of the NPCs, but overall the battle should be fairly safe otherwise. After the fight, just head a little west and climb the hill to the Harper Outpost and collect the silver pendant from the skeleton. Make sure to empty the barrels, the chest loot, and spider hole loot. After collecting the bag from the spider hole, you can still aggro the spiders and get 12 more XP. Now it's time to enter the grove and begin speaking to NPCs. Many interactions in town net you small bits of XP here and there. Collect Will, visit Kaga and Nettie, hike up the trail to Alfira, but do not do the Harpies until you're level 3 and ideally have access to Calm Emotions from Shadowheart, for example. Check if Damon has +1 hand crossbows if you want them. You almost certainly want to buy the Safeguard Shield for someone. If you're feeling brave, stealth and steal the +1 breastplate from the ground near Damon. Immediately teleport to camp to avoid being interrogated for theft. Remember that Auntie Ethel sells elixirs of Hill Giant Strength if you need them. You can buy 3 every time you long rest or level up. Damon also refreshes his stock and could have more +1 crossbows if those are something you need. The goblins in the underground passage just west of the grove are another easy source of XP. Use stealth and high ground. Just don't die to the statues. By now you should be level 3 or nearly so, depending on exactly what you did in the grove. Head to the Overgrown Ruins. Either convince the looters to leave or kill them. It's up to you to decide if it's safer to risk failing the conversation checks or doing the combat. I usually do the combat because you can initiate from stealth and high ground, and usually you can kill a couple of people right off the bat and you don't have much of an issue. I don't advise using the Falling Rock to kill any of the looters because it'll alert the people inside and make that fight harder. Enter the ruins and kill Andorn for another easy 15 XP. Mari should also be alone and easy to kill if you didn't alert the looters for another 15 XP. By now you should definitely be level 3. If for some reason you're not, you can probably just wander around and get some exploration XP, but I can't imagine not being level 3 at this point. That also means you can take the final fight against the looters straight up, but you can also play it safe and use a level 3 assassin, such as Asterion, to stealth snipe Barton through the door and then move back and flee combat to reset the fight. You can actually clear the entire room with those kinds of shenanigans if you want. Finish clearing the ruins and wake up Withers. The level 3 hit list. So as a reminder, at this point, you should have cleared the Overgrown Ruins, the Underground Passage, and wandered through most of the Emerald Grove. Withers should be waiting for you at camp, so you can take this opportunity to respec your party members to at least have better attributes, even if you're not changing their classes. Don't re-level all your companions all at once. Do it 1 level at a time and shop at Damon and Auntie Ethel in between each level up to take advantage of shop resets. That's assuming you want +1 hand crossbows or strength elixirs. So things you can do now at level 3. You can do the Harpy fight in Secluded Cove. Use Calm Emotions to protect you from the Harpy's charm, and the fight should be pretty easy. The Blighted Village is challenging, but doable as a straight-up fight. Conversation checks are much easier, though be ready in case they fail. But the absolute safest path is simply by being a drow, or looking like one. You should explore the smithy and raid the alchemist's basement for the necromancy of Thay, and shovel the closet. Consider waiting until level 4 maybe to deal with the ogres, just to be safe. Collect scratch, collect or slay Karlach if you're doing that sort of thing, but do not fight the Paladins of Tyr yet. Anders can deal a shocking amount of damage, and even if you're doing an evil run, don't complete the Paladins quest yet, because they'll disappear afterwards, and ideally you'd want to also kill them for the XP. Do infiltrate the Goblin camp. The safest way to enter is by using your lifted powers, or again, by just being a drow or looking like one. Be careful not to start any major fights while still only level 3, but otherwise you can get branded, whipped, you can save Volo. The Grat the Goblin in the camp sells items that are important for certain builds, so look for the Boots of Aid and Comfort, the Gloves of Archery, and the Returning Pike if those are things that interest you. At your camp, you can buy the Whispering Promise from Volo. Also, you can get your eye surgery. You can also go play Fire Rescue in Walking's Rest. You can unlock the Zentrum Hideout's waypoint, but wait to explore the cellar until you deal with the Flind or pick up the package. You want to be friends with the Zentrum if you want the Titan String Bow. Do not do the Owlbear fight. In Honor mode, there's an extra twist to the fight that makes it extra dangerous. Same with the Phase Spider Matriarch, which always kind of challenging and much harder in Honor mode. The hyenas and gnolls encounter can turn nasty quite quickly, so be careful engaging them. And I definitely would not do the Flint fight at level 3. You can negate it with the lifted powers, but it's still vulnerable to a bad roll, so I would just wait a little bit. Level 4, a little more. Now, if you're single class, you've got yourself a feat or ability score improvement, and should be feeling quite durable now, though some classes don't get a significant boost to damage output until level 5. Do kill the Paladins of Tyr, even if you worked with them against Karlach, though make sure to turn in your quest first. Don't forget the ogres in the Blighted Village if you avoided them earlier. The gnolls and the Flynn can be safely dispatched now. If you gain the trust of the Zents, you can pick up the excellent Titan String Bow from the Zentrum basement. If the couriers died, the easiest way to be friends with the Zents is to bring the unopened chest to the basement. Clear the Sunlit Wetlands and the Putrid Bog, but don't kill Auntie Ethel yet. She's just way too tough. You can now confront Kaga with proof from the swamp and deal with her how you'd like. You can probably visit the Owlbear cave and deal with that as you'd like, but if you're not sure, you can still wait until level 5. Do note that once you've entered the Owlbear cave, after that, doing a long rest will cause the goblins to attack the Owlbear cave and capture the cub, assuming it's still alive. In the Goblin camp, you can now deal with Halsin and the 3 absolute leaders if desired. And once the Rite of Thorns is stopped, either by deposing or killing Kaga or rescuing Halsin, you can more easily steal the Idol of Sylvanas from Mole and get a Ring of Protection, which is super duper worthwhile. If you want to keep the idol for yourself, you can buy the idol back from Mole if desired, or if you're taking the evil route, you can loot it from her body once you've raided the Grove. Now is a great time to enter the Underdark from the Shattered Sanctum and discover the waypoint, and in fact, the entire Underdark can be cleared starting from level 4, but make sure you're at full strength for the Minotaurs, the Spectator, the Bullet, and the Decrepit Village fights. The Hook Horror / Filro the Forgotten fight is kind of annoying if you lack range and mobility, so you might want to wait until level 5 if you think it might be an issue for you. Don't forget the Club of Hill Giant Strength in the Arcane Tower in case you need it, and personally I wouldn't bother fighting Bernard. He doesn't drop anything that's worthwhile, so I mostly will just skip him. It's important to note that entering the Mountain Path / Rosamorn Monastery Trail will advance the Druid Grove story, so make sure you've deposed Kaga or rescued Halsin or raided the Grove before you do that. Level 5. Most characters get a massive offensive power boost at this point. Stronger cantrips, extra attacks from martial classes, level 3 spells, yada 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 yada. So it's now safe to finish up all of the wilderness, including the Owlbears and Spider Matriarch if you didn't do that earlier. You might still want to wait until level 6 for Auntie Ethel because she really is a tough fight. Remember that you can turn in the Owlbear egg to Esther if you want to do some sneaky stuff, but also if you have the Owlbear egg in your inventory and you rest at camp, the auto-picking of camp supplies might eat the Owlbear egg, so be careful about that. You can read the Necromancy of Thay now if desired. Clear up any remaining business in the Goblin camp, the Shattered Sanctum, and the Emerald Grove. You can resolve everything in the Underdark and Grimforge, but I'd say don't do the Adamantine Forge encounter yet. Save it for as long as possible, which is probably level 6. Assuming you've deposed Kaga, rescued Halsin, or raided the Grove, you can now proceed through the mountain pass to the Rosamorn Monastery Trail without locking yourself out of Emerald Grove content. You can clear the trail and the monastery up to Kresh Yelik and gain access to some important items from the vendor there. But you may wish to delay the final confrontation with the boss in the Kresh until level 6, because it is pretty tough. I don't know if using the Zathis is worth the risk, since it's possible to get some permanent penalties if you fail some saving throws. That one's up to you. Level 6 and the end of Act 1. Now it's time to wrap up every part of Act 1, including Auntie Ethel's haircut, the Adamantine Forge boss with Grim. By the way, I usually make Snail Mail and a shield. I usually find them to be the most useful items for as long as possible, but obviously that's going to depend on your party composition. You can now also conclude all the events of Kresh Yelik. Assuming you've purchased everything you need from Ajak near Jira, Esther, or from Ebon Grotto Lake, you can now head into Act 2, and this is indeed where the guide ends. Again, as I said, I feel like Act 1 can be the trickiest, where things can go a little bit badly because you haven't gotten all the possible optimizations yet. But at this point, you should be at least level 6, I would think, across your party. You've picked up a lot of key items that should dramatically improve your power curve, enabling certain combos already, and just making you a much, much scarier group, and hopefully can take on Act 2. I mean, assuming you've done them before, you're probably in good shape. At this time, I'm not planning on making a second guide to this for Act 2, or in fact for Act 3, but who knows what'll happen in the future. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss a post, and I'll see you next time.